Hey everybody, thanks for joining in. Arna will hop on here momentarily and we'll get the show on the road. All right, Arna has joined us, so he'll hop on here in a second. But thanks everybody for joining this morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Excited for this quick little conversation, but hopefully can get some good points in there about one of our favorite topics, which is Joby and Toyota. Arna, you have anything intro wise to kick us off?
Yeah, Travis, exciting times and great to go through the timeline and just reference on what happened along that partnership in the last few years.
Yeah, no, I think I think it's part of the story that maybe because it's happened for such a long period of time that it's just kind of fades into the background, even though it's extremely important for Joby. So obviously, the first known uh, conversations between Toyota and Joby were actually via Toyota's VC firm, Toyota Ventures, led by Jim Adler, and he received a call from a friend of his, Bonnie Simi, back in 2017, and obviously we've talked about that story, and where Toyota, within less than 2 weeks, saw for the first time Joby's vehicle, learned about Joby, and then invested in them. So that was 2017, and then 2020. Toyota ended up leading a Series C that was over 500 million. So, just to try and put our mind back in that space of time, do you think that even then, even though it got fanfare, people realized what it would turn into now that we can, look back 5 years?
Yeah, absolutely not. And it's easy to underestimate only when we looked into the whole challenge of scaling production, where it became clear of just what big of a difference Toyota could make for Joby scaling of production.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of just made a list here offline to reference so people know what we're speaking to. But things 2022 they announced the ANA All Nippon Airlines partnership, but obviously Toyota was involved with that. 2023, Joby and Toyota additional powertrain actuation component agreement in terms of. Sorry, Arne, do you have something for ANA?
No.
Okay. Um, yeah, June 2023, the pilot production line obviously came online, and Toyota was a pivotal piece of that, as well as the head of Toyota North America, Ted, joined the Joby board. October 2024, Toyota committed, of course, the 500 million, 250 million in the first tranche has been received. Paul Sciarra, executive chairman, has also stated that he believes the other 250 will happen before the end of this year, 2025. Obviously not guaranteed, but that's what they've stated. They're fully confident that will happen. November 2024, the S4, Joby's S4 was flying in Japan with those beautiful pictures that we saw in front of Mount Fuji. And then July 2025, the most recent, things that have unfolded was Joby and Toyota, obviously at Oshkosh here in the States, to highlight the aircraft there. It was interesting. It was sitting at the Toyota booth versus the Joby booth, but obviously showing that partnership. And Toyota labeled their activation the Toyota Flight School. Pretty interesting, given that they're mostly known for being an automotive company, although they want to be a mobility company. And then, maybe we haven't talked too much on this, Arna, yet, but what did you think about when I had found the piece that this Aero Asahi company that was mentioned in a 2023 Joby Toyota announcement all of a sudden just changed their name to Era Toyota, and their Era Mobility part of their website has Joby front and center. What do you think that takes us into? It look as we scale manufacturing and also see certification start to really seem feasible in the near future.
Yeah, given that Toyota is one of the largest companies in Japan, you would expect when it comes to also subsidies, funding, and of course certification and agreements in Japan, that they would be not just a partner, but they would be kind of leading the way as having that key influence in the economy in Japan. And what is interesting in this context is also you mentioned ANA, All Nippon Airways. We haven't heard anything about them. So if anyone's here on the call from Japan, would be great to get some insights. Maybe they are sharing some low key updates, but as it might be in Japanese, we're just not aware of it. It would be really interesting to understand what's happening in the eVTOL space in Japan right now.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I know, they have the other company, eVTOL company, Skyrise, I believe is the name of it, that is making some strides and actually has a vehicle that has at least gotten airborne. And that's the biggest thing in this space that is important, I think, to all of us, right? Is, there can be all these headlines, and I saw something. I think there's 1,000 eVTOL related companies that have been started, in the last few years, or that exist. But this is about flying, and that's why I love Joby, because we can actually see videos of these aircraft flying for long periods of time or track them. So that's always obviously helpful to the story coming to actual fruition. But I would like to double click on what you mentioned about ANA, that we maybe haven't heard anything from them. It's been more Toyota led, but obviously pretty interesting news this week as well, about the $500 billion investment from the country of Japan into the United States. Obviously, you have to believe that a large portion, or at least a material portion of some of that investment, comes via the vehicle that is Toyota and ANA, because they are so closely aligned with the government. So, just kind of a broader picture, macro. What do you think that means, or more just as a broad speaking point to how connected the two countries are?
Yeah, I think we got lucky that that definitely is going to play into this joint setup. You wouldn't want to have Toyota be a Chinese headquartered company. Yeah? If that were BYD or Xiaomi, then definitely we would be in trouble. So it's very fortunate that Japan, as we have this mega trend of deglobalization currently in play, that Japan is in the same camp of US and friends. And that's just, yeah, that's something. Who would have thought about that 3, 4 years ago? But now it's absolutely vital. And of course, the fact we mentioned last time with the integrated supply chain of not having any dependency with parts and components out of China, that's very good. And what it will actually mean now going forward with investments, we can only hope, as you said, Toyota being one of the largest companies in Japan, that they do have good channels on tapping into some of that funding. And we'll have to wait and see. But hopefully, that's going to play into the balance sheet of Joby.
Yeah, and there was at least, and obviously it's been a fluid situation around tariffs and excuse me, just changing winds on some of this stuff. But great to hear that, at least at this point, it looks like that would mean that anything coming from Japan would have obviously significantly decreased um, tariffs. And since we know that Toyota will be supplying, parts to Joby, just kind of speaks again to what you said about, the supply chain. And Joby, I don't think there's very few people that could build something so complex, just with so many pieces, parts, and players involved, that there isn't some piece from China. So Joby does have some capacity there, but obviously, I think what we've seen out of Marina, them expanding the facility there, expanding the facility in San Carlos, obviously Dayton, but not, everybody thinks that the USPS building that Joby has just already started installing equipment in is the Dayton facility, and this was just because it was already built. They didn't need to, they could optimize, just in terms of capital efficiency of that project. So they haven't even started the green space that will eventually become, the facility or facilities that put together that 500 a year capacity number. But yeah, just really excited to see how much Toyota's leaning in, because as we've talked about it, planes and automobiles are not the same thing, but Toyota's making 10 million vehicles annually, more than that. If they can make in 5 years from now, if Joby and Toyota can crank out, a few hundred aircraft per year, it's extremely successful. So, I think I'm very confident, but just for the broader audience, I think you at least can't ignore that gives them a pretty darn good fighting chance, to pull this whole thing off to at least scale manufacturing.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the archive of Toyota, one thing I found from 1925, way back, is that the founder, Sakishi Toyota, actually had a prize uh, with a reward for developing a storage battery powerful enough to enable airplane flight across the Pacific Ocean. And that was way back in 1925. So there is
Yeah,
some
very
kind of
cool.
heritage
Yeah.
actually within Toyota when it comes to aviation. You could also argue that they've looked into building small business jets and that wasn't successful, but definitely some kind of connection. And it seems to have strong backing from the family, as you mentioned, with the name change and so on. So if the founder family wouldn't be supportive, then that probably wouldn't have happened.
Sure, and I think also just other things, right? Is obviously everybody knows, the amount of money, almost $1 billion, coming from Toyota in terms of investment, but also other pieces of, Toyota's a pretty, they play things, close to their vest, but they're very involved with Joby. Obviously, having Ted join the board right after the production line, came online, that all these things, cue to. Something is really deep beyond this bond. It isn't just a quote unquote commercial relationship. And even when Jobin speaks about the Toyota family, that you can tell there's a reverence and a respect, because obviously they're helping him. This is his childhood dream. With as much as I love Joby, I think these are extremely competent people. If they didn't have a Toyota, let's say they didn't have any partner, I mean, man, this is it's a hell of an uphill battle. But with that Toyota partnership, they've really built it into something more of a family. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So we
Arna,
will,
oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So I mean, for now, it's we got to bide our time and wait for the I think the next quarterly call with Joby is in 2 weeks' time.
Correct. Yep, they're August 6th. So yeah, I think we'll see more about that. Obviously, there's been, we'll let lying dogs lie until I think Joby speaks more about it. But some really interesting research that has been coming out of Oregon, and some long distance flights. So those playing along, what a incredible thing that's unfolding there in the background, and you know people think it's a waste of time until it's going to be extremely valuable. But yeah, I think that the biggest catalyst, and just to kind of keep it to the Toyota piece, will be, as we go into the back half of the year, things that Joby has said, right? Is not that they've promised, but the goal was to have TIA flight credit test, excuse me, flight testing for credit here before the end of the year, and that would be on an aircraft that was, if not fully conforming, is close to that as we're going to maybe know about until it starts to happen. So that's exciting. We know that Dayton has already parts, or excuse me, manufacturing and tools and equipment for parts going in, and so we'd like to see at least some of those start to land in Marina. To know that facility is rocking and rolling, but we know that they've done a lot of hiring. They've even said that they've started the training. So I feel pretty confident with all signs are a go there at the USPS in Dayton. And then obviously we'll see, if we get anything more out of Dubai. They did mention, and I believe that was from Anthony Corey, who said that they'll try and get, but I could be wrong on that, but that they're going to start to try and fly closer to the city versus out, there in the desert. So really exciting stuff for Joby certification, et cetera. But it will all come down to, wow, and maybe the next 12 months, it seems like this quote unquote expensive piece of paper will be in hand, at least in some shape or form, certification or flight authorization, whatever that looks like. And then it will just be, oh wow, okay, how many planes do they have? It's a simple equation at that point. Not a simple task, but simple equation. So we'll see when we hear more from Toyota. You've always not even speculated, but um, pulled the thread about Toyota utilizing some of their excess capacity, or older facilities, or a facility that was easy to be transformed, given the modular nature of Joby's production line, into some additional capacity. I don't know if that'll happen in the States. Maybe even we hear about a factory in Japan. What do you think from all the sign? I mean, obviously this is just purely speculating, but what do you think?
Yeah, like 2 years ago when we first touched base on that topic, and we looked at the map, which shows like greater 30 locations in North America for Toyota. That was a moment of wow. Okay, they really have, for Toyota. It would be easy. They have a plant that's currently making a transmission or any other components, to kind of transform that into a eVTOL production site. So that definitely is an asset that will separate and set Joby apart from a lot of other companies. And he who must not be named, if you look at the competitive landscape of Joby, um, just also look behind the scenes and compare Toyota to maybe another partner that a big US competitor might also be working together with, and then look at what they're currently reporting and in what state that company is. And then ask yourself, okay, is that going to be the partner in terms of finance, but also corporate culture, in terms of yeah, the leadership? Is there a single kind of ownership, or a strong institutional owner within that company that has this vision and is driving that forward? So I would definitely recommend looking and comparing Toyota versus he who must not be named, the other automotive partner. And then, yeah, look for yourself, and you will see that things couldn't be more different between Toyota and that other partner as current lay of the land.
Yeah, and something that's really, I appreciate that, just kind of jogged my memory about something, or a couple things about Toyota. So we did hear or in a recent article, information that the team in Toyota, well, obviously there's a team of Toyota engineers that is in Marina working with the Joby team day in and day out, has been for years. But that there's actually where they, we've talked about, for the certification of the facility itself, how they have to have, all sorts of, laser and audio and visual tracking of each workstation, just for quality control. We heard that some of those videos are actually used and analyzed by the Toyota team back in Japan. That again is just using the principle of Kaizen, of constant improvement, and things that are so small as which way you put the scissors on a table so that the next person that needs them can pick them up without having to turn them to wait and waste that moment of time. So that was really cool. But then, moreover, that they have a mock, um, production line of Joby's, but in Toyota in Japan. So there, that's pretty interesting, to hear about that. Not only is Toyota kind of consulting and overseeing, but that they have a mock line. Why? I mean, that's a great partner, and blah blah blah. But um, you'd think that that's probably really taking a look at doing something, uh, there in country. But then, moreover, another little tidbit was, in and around the announcement of increasing the manufacturing capacity recently in Marina, for the new building. And it was quoted in there that, from, as that facility grows, when they move it to Dayton, it is already the fully conforming setup for the line. Obviously, they haven't received that certification yet, but as Joby, expects the line to be, just like the aircraft, they're not making changes at this point. They're just going through, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, to kind of turn in their final bit of the exam. But the fact that Dayton will instantly just be able to be modular, and they will, you know, not exactly flip on a switch, but once everything's loaded in, et cetera, they can turn that thing on and actually make aircraft that are conforming. Once again, of course, with the caveat they've received type certification XYZ. But that's a really interesting nugget where, the ramp time is not determined by some external force. It will really just be based off of Joby and Toyota. But again, as they've rebranded themselves as a strategic manufacturing alliance, it gives me great confidence that they'll at least be successful in that endeavor. The speed at which it happens, of course, yet to be seen by all of us. But they're the only company that has a working production line at this point, at least that we've seen. Um, we haven't seen photos inside of all the facilities of different manufacturers yet. In depth like we have with Joby, but yeah, exciting times. I mean, man, Toyota, just an epic piece of the puzzle with Joby, and very thankful that they're along the ride with us.
Yeah, and
Anything
if
to,
you,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, just adding 5 cents here. If you look at the total workforce of Toyota, they have around 380,000 people. So that, of course, is a great pool of talent, skill that Joby can partially tap into. You already mentioned some of Toyota staff being there basically already for years, working alongside Joby, and that's going to make a big difference going forward. I mean, it's not just about capital and location. You also need to have the people um, to get it to get it done, get it delivered when you scale up production, and that's a good edge for Joby having those 380,000 people as a potential pool where if you need any kind of specialist, then yeah, Toyota can just more or less pull that out of the hat and say, okay, here we've got for composite binding, whatever, specialist XYZ, here you go. And that's a huge advantage.
Yeah, and maybe kind of to that, at least on my side, I'll kind of wrap with, what the Toyota partnership is yes, obviously the capital, yes, the Toyota family and just the emphasis that they've put behind this, and making their business not just automotive but mobility. But in the end, it really just comes down to the people. And when you see that you have, a family company that has turned into, a bastion of an entire country, the people and culture behind that, there's a reason why Toyota can make the most cars and have some of the highest quality. And that's a dedication and a passion that you can't buy that off the shelf. And moreover, aviation is filled with passion, and also people become dedicated and obsessed to it. And so I just am really excited about not just the leadership at Toyota, but to your point, this is every engineer, this is every piece of the puzzle, every person who delivers parts, that's a part of this larger story. What an exciting thing for them to be a part of. I mean, I just think of in Japan how many engineers within the schools that obviously end up pipelining into Toyota via internships, et cetera, et cetera. How many kids now that are not in to high school, or where they would get to maybe engineering, but they're doing things at home and doing robotics, now they can work on quote unquote flying cars and air taxis and what that future looks like. I mean, that's an exciting story well beyond just the engineering or the capital that's been invested. So yeah, I couldn't be obviously more thrilled with the Toyota partnership with Joby, and exciting times ahead.
Absolutely.
All right, Arna, thank you as always. Thank you everybody for listening. Hopefully, helpful. And we'll reconvene next week. Have a great weekend, and yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Talk soon. Take care, everyone.